Okay, so I'll go ahead and share screen and give you guys the lowdown on what I want to chat about this morning. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay, so just starting out, today we're going to talk about why we're on social, we being SFL, what platforms we're on, the stats of our success and supporters, what you all can do to help. And then I saved enough time for questions and tutorials. Based on, I don't know where everybody's coming from. Some of you guys may be using Facebook and have questions for LinkedIn or vice versa. So we will get to all that. Definitely as we go through, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to speak up. So, okay. Why we're on social to begin with. So our intended social to increase awareness about solutions from the land, advocate for policy reform and funding of climate smart agriculture, as well as educate others on the importance of such practices. And we're targeting individuals who are working out on the farms, as well as those that just simply buy their food from the grocery store and don't know enough about this very important industry because it impacts everybody, as we all know on this call. So the overall strategy for our social media, we're elevating those farmer voices who have and are implementing climate smart agriculture practices and the impacts such shifts have had on their operations. And we're also, like I said a moment ago, educating the general public about why these conversations are even vital. So you may have seen us. We are out there on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. So Ernie's LinkedIn is where we're posting most actively when it comes to the LinkedIn options, but you can certainly still tag us Solutions from the Land because we do have a business page. So these are just little screenshots to make sure you're following the right Ernie and the right SFL pages. So Facebook, snapshot. We January to July. We will be measuring again this October, but just to give you guys an overview of the successes we've been seeing, from January to July, we gained 16 new followers on Facebook. I've got a big goal of at least 20. So if any of you guys have Facebook and are not following us, you can be part of that 20 goal for this next quarter. We were able to reach over 1,000 individuals with the messages we put out during the first 2 quarters, which is really impressive. And I have a goal of at least reaching 1,500 for this next quarter. Our engagements were a little down, but that's where you all can help be a part of boosting those numbers up for us. And then I do have a target to get those numbers up for this next quarter that we're currently in. To give you guys an idea of some of the posts that have been doing really well, all of these are going to have visuals, as you'll see, but the importance of tagging is in here. Continuum Ag, Mitchell Hora, has gained such popularity among the industry, and it just further showcases that when we've posted about him with one of the last, I believe this was from one of the last board meetings, where you guys all had the chance to hear him speak on the bus tour. And as you can see, reaching over just 1,000 folks with one post alone, we were able to tap into his followers and tap into those that are part of his community by having that tag, which is where this little blue piece is up there. Our next successful post for quarter 1 and quarter 2 included AG's work with the Farmers Major Group. So obviously more of the hard-hitting information that we're having about our meetings, that's hitting well too among our audience. And then our last post for Facebook that I wanted to highlight is it features 3 different photos on here, and also summed up our efforts from 2023. So this just goes to show that folks are wanting to know about what they're missing, what the highlights were from our successes, and wishing us the best in the future. So, looking at X, formerly Twitter, we had between January and July 69 new followers, which is great. We do have more followers on X versus Facebook. I have a goal of us hitting 50 new followers this quarter. The reach, as you'll see, much more than what we saw on Facebook, over 5,000, and our engagements were also up. And as we'll go through, I believe the reach and engagements were up also due to our Continuum Ag post that we put out because of Mitchell's success on this platform. So going through, this is the post that he put. We also linked out to his YouTube page, encouraging our audience to hear more of his messages. Similarly to Facebook, AG's messages from his time with the UNEP Farmers Major Group, and including 4 photos this time, those authentic photos capturing him in the moment, definitely helped. So we were able to reach over 722 individuals. This is a double-threaded tweet, looks like. For those that maybe X is newer to you all, I've noticed that when we put a main message, which is right here with AG's photos and little intro into what we're going to be talking about, and then clinging onto that, which you do that by the little comment button down here in the left-hand corner, we were able to go along the same topic and expand our message because X does cut you off after a certain amount of characters. So when we include these longer form messages, they do quite successful on X. Which brings me to my next point, the last piece. This was also a threaded tweet, and it was just a hello from Iowa for our board meeting when we had that. And once again, a strong visual. So LinkedIn, we're focusing on Ernie's LinkedIn here. January to July, we had 89 new followers follow Ernie. Our current followers, this is, like I said, the platform where we are doing the best. We have over 1,000 followers. Impressions, as you can see, much larger than the other 2 platforms. It says that we were down a little bit from the previous 90 days. We were still able to reach over 14,000 folks with Ernie's messages. And just as another fun fact, the messages we're putting out on Facebook and X mirror what Ernie is putting out. So our audience is not missing anything if they're following us on all 3. Our engagements, much larger than the other 2 platforms at 505 for those 2 quarters.
Hey, Ashley, can I interrupt for a second? Can you
Yeah.
explain what an impression is and what an engagement is?
Yes. So great question. You may notice that we had reach on some of these. So reach versus impressions, for example, because not all platforms measure the same. Let's say that we had um, an ad, a Facebook ad, and it uh, reached 200 individuals. So that meant that they clicked on it or they engaged with it. They went into the message versus 500 impressions. So that meant that it showed up to 500 individuals, whether they did anything with it or not, that's to be seen. So, if you're scrolling, for example, on your Facebook or your LinkedIn and you read it, but you haven't gone into that person's profile or that business page, that's the difference between reach and impressions. It's not as though we're not getting anything. It's just a different way of measuring. Does
Ashley,
that help?
do they have to be for the impressions? Do they hesitate along a period of time? I mean, in other words, it shows up, but do they actually have to hesitate over it 3 seconds or 5 seconds, Or I mean, I get a ton of stuff and I just look at it and delete it, look at it and delete it.
Right?
So,
That,
but I also hesitate and might look at it 10 seconds, which is, so I'm actually reading 2 or 3 lines as opposed to just reading the headline and getting rid of it. So does the impression distinguish between that, or is it just that it showed up in their inbox?
that's a great question. So yes, what happens is that it is showing up in their inbox. They are hovering over it for at least 2 to 3 seconds so that
Okay.
it gives an indication to the algorithms that it's being read to some degree,
Okay.
whether they read it for the first two sentences and then just kept scrolling, or they read the whole thing. That's, to be seen, but at least it's been in front
That's
of their eyes. We're able to see. Yeah, that's a great question. So, um, engagement was the other piece of your question, Ernie. And to go through that, engagement is going to look a little bit different on each platform. But so for example, for Facebook, you may see that you can like, love, care, um, those kind of different emojis that you can reflect on Facebook. That's one form of engagement. On X, you can only just like a post. Then on LinkedIn, it's similar to Facebook. You can find something humorous. You can like it, you can love it, you can find it insightful, and so forth. So all those different versions of a like, a thumbs up to those, that's one way to engage. In addition, comments. So anytime that you all get on there and say, way to go, Ray, on your presentation, or something to that effect on the SFL posts, you're engaging. Lastly, another way to engage is to share our content. And I know I'm jumping ahead because I have a slide of what all you can do to help us, but sharing our content is another great way to get our messages in front of audience. Just in case, you know, great Aunt Frida is on Facebook but hasn't been introduced to Solutions from the Land, you sharing our content can get great Aunt Frida in front of, Solutions from the Land to learn more about what we do. That's a lot. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, so it's essentially you're looking at it, but you're not doing anything with it. So when you do something with it, taking an action, that's an engagement, or that's what the other term was for the other platform. So it's
Yeah,
it's passive and active action.
yep. That is a good way to look at it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back down here. So LinkedIn with Ernie's LinkedIn, as you'll see across all platforms now to this point, AG's information about what he was doing with the UNEP Farmers Major Group really hit home with over 3,000 of our individuals here. You can see that almost 4,000 folks received this message, hovered over it for at least 2 to 3 seconds, hopefully more. And also the visuals helped elevate that. Passing of Pat O'Toole was also something that we noticed received several comments, reactions, reposts even. And we got in front of over 2,000 individuals for this message. Pat obviously meant a lot to everybody, and the outreach was definitely seen. So Q1 and Q2, the last post I wanted to show, I've kind of got tiny font here just because we had a longer message, but this was the USDA 100th Agriculture Outlook Forum. And we tagged USDA, so then we were able to get in front of those followers as well. But then we also walked through explaining Kyle Bridgeforth and Trey Hill's pieces that they gave during the presentation. These longer form pieces also provide our audience with info to where they don't have to lead form. And oftentimes that's more successful if they can get the whole view and then just keep scrolling, not having to click out necessarily. So when we're thinking about what all you guys can do to help us, let's say that there's an event, just like Ray was talking about being able to visit, with politicians. If you guys happen to snap a couple photos and send us the overview in as much detail as you can, like what you did, why it's impactful, and why folks should care, we can turn that into a post just like this and get it out in front of our audience.
So
Okay.
let's pause there for a second. Ray,
Oh, fine.
is that something that you would be comfortable with? I mean, you were hosting GT Thompson at the Iowa State Fair. So if we had a picture of you and GT eating a corn dog, you could say something like, had a great time at the fair today, had a chance to introduce GT Thompson, House Ag Committee Chairman GT Thompson, to my friends across the fairgrounds, or whatever we would say. Is that something you'd be comfortable doing?
Yeah, I can, but I just didn't do anything yesterday, so I wouldn't have anything from yesterday, but in the future, I sure can.
And it wouldn't
Yeah.
have to be really hard hitting or like had a chance to corner GT and stress the importance of keeping climate smart ag funding. We probably wouldn't do that on social media,
No.
but something more general that just shows your relationship with them, talking about the betterment of agriculture, that would be fair ground.
Yeah. I'll be with him in DC September 25th all day. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we could do that. We'll see.
Okay. And that's for everybody. You're out and about every day. And if there's a opportunity to show how you're having a conversation about agriculture, that's an easy tweet to a post that we could put together.
Okay, so Ashley, again, related to this one, yeah, it sort of features Dean Winterstein, Iowa State University. So what would the action step we take in order to kick up the exposure, the engagements, or the discovery, whatever it is? What should we have done with Iowa State to expand this posting? You know what I'm saying? So
like what we could have done right here to help boost the efforts.
Posted this.
Oh, okay.
How would we have spread that via Iowa State's media system?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because whenever we're with an important person, we post it, but they have a whole set, just like the Mitchell Horror. We have a ton of other, they have a ton of other people. So would we have embedded something with Iowa State? I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm just asking is what would we have embedded, or how would we have made this multiply because of the person that we're talking to? How would we have reached out to them?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I am gonna segue out of this. Hopefully it still shares my screen.
And before you
Can
do
you
that,
guys...
Ashley, go back if you could.
Okay.
Because I think what Lois is talking about is that picture in the lower right-hand corner,
Right.
where I had an opportunity to present Wendy the Winterstein, the president of the Iowa State University, with a copy of our report. But more importantly, she called us out in her talk and recognized us as an example of innovative Iowa leadership. So that, Lois, you made that happen by picking up the phone and calling Wendy. She got excited and said, I'm giving a talk at USDA's Outlook Conference. I'd like to put that in my talk. So we heard that happened. I went down there specifically because of that, and just happened to be next to somebody I knew. I handed them my camera. They took the picture. And then Ashley, you wrote the post. So that's for those that didn't know that story, that's we kind of manufactured that one in a good way.
But if we'd have used the Iowa State exposure, we could have kicked those numbers up. But I don't know how you'd do that. That's what I'm asking.
And another thing that we could be doing is, so for example, those that had the connection with Wendy, letting her know, oh, hey, here, we're sharing on Facebook 2 days from now this post. Just to keep an eye out. And if you're not already following us, here is a link to our Facebook page, a link to our X, and a link to our LinkedIn. Just to be thinking in a forward manner. Because,
Okay,
for
so
example, oh,
they have a
I was,
template.
go ahead.
It would be useful to have a template on those words you just gave, so that every
Oh,
time
okay.
we do that, we could send the email, but we could say, here we are on, and have the URLs for each one of those. Don't you think, Ernie?
Yeah, I think the invitation from you to others to follow us would be a great way to drive our numbers up.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, before I lose that train of thought, the Monday update that I put out every other Monday,
Mm-hmm.
instead of the close that I have now, I should probably be closing that with some reminder to follow us on Facebook, X, and Twitter at the close.
Yes, I like that.
But I'd like to go back to Lois's point, because if you're talking to an Iowa State person who is using social media, how do you link into their social media, which amplifies our message maybe 10 or 50 times?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a great question. So there's going to be a couple ways that we could do that. One, if we had tagged, like with the USDA up here, if we had tagged down here at the Iowa State University, which in hindsight, that would have been the best action. I will admit that I missed that opportunity. But what we can also do, and this is a great way to do a twofer, get the engagement up as well as tagging the right folks. So let's say that you're friends with Wendy on Facebook. Then what you could do is you could go in here. This is obviously not the right post, but let's just say that it is. And you would to the @ symbol, you would go Iowa State University. And then if you're friends with Wendy, go in here and say, Wendy, and find her name and put something to the effect of great work, or it was good to see you. And then this is going to tag both the university and Wendy. When you go to do that, it gets this post in front of them. If they want to share it, they can. And in addition, that gives me the opportunity to go in, like we did here, where Ernie commented, and I was able to comment back. Commenting back gets us further up on those news feeds in front of more folks. So it's like it's a game when it comes to this algorithm. And so if you guys could engage that way, that would help us boost our efforts. And like you both said, Lois and Melinda, we'd be able to get extra traction. Does that help with? Okay.
I think it's a little bit like riding a bike. You can be told how to ride a bike, but until you get on it and do it yourself, that's how I've found it. It's not intuitive to me. I almost have to keep working at it. And the more you do it, the more you think of a way to respond. So the easiest way may be just to hit a like button that so you don't have to type anything. But commenting, hitting the comment is you can put a little personal note in there. So proud of my colleagues on the SFL board. It doesn't have to be much, almost anything. Is that right, Ashley?
Yeah, any kind of engagement that you can get for us was going to go a long ways. No matter if you wind up commenting and liking or just liking. And this is for those that are not Facebook gurus. This is where I was talking earlier about the liking of something, and it gives you different options. Um, I wouldn't think you'd be using the angry face, but probably, you know, other emojis here for our content. And then sharing. This is the share button on Facebook, and it will get in front of your audience. You can also put a message, you know, explaining, let's say that we're talking about an event that Howard was at, for example. If we do that and Howard is to post on his own Facebook, when sharing this message, he could always say something to the effect of, um, what a great event. We had over 2,000 people attend, or something to that nature. You can add a message when you share it, or you can just share it.
And that would be sharing with your own friends on Facebook, the people that you
Yes.
already have, maybe or family members, or because I think of Facebook as more personal and more family oriented stuff, and maybe that's not right. But
Yeah.
for a lot of us, I think it's mostly family and friends.
Mhm. And so it's a great opportunity to keep them in the loop about what you're up to. You don't have to call everybody and tell them. You just can share it and explain the good news, and it'll get in front of them. So I'm going to toggle back over here, but we'll go back to the Facebook, X, and LinkedIn pages, and I'll show you some more. But the whole point of our discussion about what all we can do to help Solutions from the Land gain more traction, we already talked about creating posts. Don't be afraid to tag us. That little @ symbol that I was using a minute ago is the magic key to tagging us. Um,
Actually, show us that again so people know
yeah,
what exactly you mean by tag.
yeah. So, okay, let's just say you're going to go in and you're going to post. So you'll say, had a chance to attend uh, COP29 with Solutions from the Land. So this is where you have your @ you'll see, oh, okay, Solutions from the Land. You want to make sure you're tagging the right person. So obviously the first two things that showed up, no go, but you'll know you have tagged successfully if you have show up in a different color. So for this instance, it highlights it blue. And then you would either add your photo if you have one, add more text if you need, and then you would click post.
So this is kind of the high school version of it. The elementary school version is you can help just by liking and commenting. But if you want to, once you're more comfortable and graduating where you're posting yourself, I think that's the difference here. That you can write the message, as Ashley said, put the @ sign next, and then the name of the entity that you're trying to direct it to. Um, and then making sure that you hover over that, it'll give you the options. You then click on the right Solutions from the Land.
Yes. And I'm a hands-on learner. I don't know if you guys, if anybody else is the same way, but just getting in there and playing around with it helps me um, understand what to do next. So let's say, for example, this could be relevant as everybody's learning. I've made mistakes. We all make mistakes. Let's say that you post something and you're like, oh, I forgot to put these words, or I put the wrong tag, or it happens. So I'd like to show you guys. This is a post that we've already done. It's live, but let's just hypothetically say that there was an oops or something in there. Let's go up to the right-hand corner, and you're going to see Edit Post. That's your magic button. So you'll see that it took out, you can redo the copy, if there's no visual, because sometimes I know Facebook does this. If there's no visual, it'll have all the copy right there that you can just redo. Like you can go in and type. But with visuals, it erases the entire copy, so you'll start from scratch. So that's how you can do that. Or let's say that you need to delete it altogether. Wasn't the right message, you don't want to edit, just move it to trash. It's as if it never happened. I do recommend if you do this to delete it as soon as possible if you're going to be deleting. That way your audience doesn't think you're hiding anything. I lean more toward just correcting a post. You can correct it in here and then just put even, updated post, or you can do a variety of things that way to let your audience know that you have some updates for them, if that's helpful. So toggling back, I know we've already discussed this with sharing our content, engaging with our posts, but as you're all creating posts, if you're on platforms already and you're posting about an awesome sweater that you found at the thrift store, but you may not be posting about your blueberry farm, for example, on Facebook, I'd like to encourage you guys to be posting about those kind of things. It doesn't always have to be that you're tagging solutions from the land, but as educators all here, don't shy away from using the platforms to educate your community about what you're doing out in the fields or out, talking to congressmen and so forth. Because whether it has a direct tie to solutions from the land or not, you guys are making waves, and we've got to showcase all the great work that you're doing. And let's say at the end of this, you're just like, Ashley, social media is not my cup of tea. Hey, I get it. It's not for everybody, but we still want to be able to get your messages out there. So what I'd love to request is going back to earlier when I said, email us. Email us the photos, email us the information from anything that you're out there doing, whether you're visiting with a farmer in a different state, you're attending a conference and you're on a panel, you're just simply integrating a new climate smart practice on your farm. This is all relevant information that we could turn into a post. And if you guys happen to be on social and you have handles, so like I could tag you, you're comfortable with that, definitely let me know. And we can get you tagged within those messages. So if I'm posting, something on Rudy here, you'll be able to see that we posted it that day. Keep you in the loop that you're out and about, and we're honoring the efforts that you're making.
So Ashley, explain what a handle is.
Oh, yeah, that would be helpful. Okay, so a handle. A handle is going to be after you have like facebook.com, this right here is going to be your handle, Solutions from the Land. So if we were on my personal Facebook, mine is Ashley M. Craft, because there's other Ashley Crafts out there. And so you just grab this, or just grab the entire link and send it to me. And that way I have your entire handle in the Facebook link. Same way with this SFL News here. This here is our handle. And
so for that's the Facebook, or is that X?
This is X now.
Yeah. So that's a good, because we have different handles for different platforms. So, right?
Yes.
So for X, we're SFL_news.
Yep.
And Facebook were Solutions from the Land. So we have different handles on different platforms. And I guess the point Ashley's emphasizing here is you don't have to understand all that stuff. We'll do it for you if you just send us content. But if you are comfortable, these are a little more advanced ways that you can participate and help drive numbers up.
Exactly. And then solutions from the land on LinkedIn is going to be solutions dash from dash the dash land. And you may be wondering, why aren't these all consistent? That has to do all with availability. So when we would go in and solutions from the land may not have been available on X for us to grab, may have been somebody else had already grabbed it before us. Added point to why we need to make sure we have the right handles. And that, like I said, you just grab the whole link, send it my way, and we'll make sure the right person's tagged. And this brings us to 14 minutes worth of questions we've got. If you guys have questions you want me to show you anywhere that maybe you've struggled with in the past, I can jump in here while we've got it all up and going.
So is there
Ashley, please go ahead, Ernie.
No, you go ahead, Howard. I'll follow you.
Yeah, I was just thinking about our envoys. It's one thing to have us talk about all this, but the envoys are really young, active people, and they probably do this a lot more than I do or someone else does. I mean, I've never been on Facebook or X. I'm on LinkedIn. I just sent Ernie a note to connect. But the envoys are doing this all the time. And their youthful zeal is something that we all admire. Not that we don't have zeal, but in a different way. So I wonder if we should engage them as well uh, about this and try to get them on a call and talk to them about doing some of this stuff too, because their voice is different than ours. And uh, I'll leave it at that.
That's a great idea, Howard. And even if they couldn't participate in a Zoom call, we could reach out to them with a specific invitation to participate with us on social media.
Definitely, definitely.
But a Zoom call would be a good chance to reconvene them. We haven't reconvened them for a while.
Yeah.
I agree.
You feel part of of us as an organization. We've got some distance that needs to be bridged in order to keep them focused.
Yeah, and that way we could walk through if, any of these questions that they may have too, and let them know we'd love to hear their stories, whether they're posting it all or we can share it for them.
And we'd like to tell their stories. I mean, they're all talented people that were chosen very carefully. And they have great stories as young farmers. And that's a category that probably most of us who are over 50 on this call. I know that Lois is under 50, so we won't include her.
Well, I think I'm closer to 100.
Myself as well. But I think it's important to show that side of SFL. And I'd be happy as a co-chair to be on the phone when we talk to them, just because they seem so important to us long term.
Yeah, that's
is to validate that point, Howard. Yesterday, we taped a 75-minute webinar with the Healthy Farms, Healthy Bays leadership team in Florida. And I think we had 7 or 8 of the leaders that put that report together on the Zoom. And over the course of 50 minutes, each came on and shared their perspective. The person that blew everybody away was a 16-year-old high school student named Abby Whitehead. And no script, spontaneous talking about passion of the work we're doing and how she's sharing it and talking about her networks and social media. We'll send you the links. You can watch this. But if you want to get re-energized for why our work is important, and appreciate the fact that it's working its way down to youth, that webinar would be a great thing to look at.
And if you, speaking about that, if we could just clip that part of the interview and post it It just expands our reach beyond established farmers, young farmers, and high school kids. It
That's a
sounds
great
like it was a
idea.
great,
I don't know how to do that, but I bet Ashley does.
I can. I can. If you don't mind sending me the link, Howard, that was a wonderful idea. Yeah, we should definitely look into that. 30 to 60-second clips on all platforms are even better than just photos. So we can make that work.
excellent.
Totally agree. The young people are the future. And out here at the fair, we had 400 approximately FFA students on Barnyard Follies Day that was running around. It was something to see.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, Ashley, I know time is limited here, but let's take them through a week of social media. So every Monday morning at 11 o'clock, Ashley and I connect on a Zoom, and she asked me, "What's going on this week? What do you want to put out there?" And I try over the weekend in a quiet moment to sit down and say, "Okay, what are we doing this week? What did we do last week that we could talk about?" And I write down a list, but those are only ideas that are in my head. If you have ideas and can send them to us for an activity you were involved with, a paper you wrote, a speech you gave, if you could feed those to us as they happen, we'll put them on the list, and then we can tee them up. If they're really time sensitive, we'll make that a priority and do it right away. But many of them could be as valid next week or the following week. So we would put them in a little holding pen. So this week, Ashley, tell them what we've got in the queue for this week, just so they know what we came up with. I can't even remember them all, but
Yeah. So yesterday was COP29. Just letting folks know that we have basically 6 members going. We're really excited. We have more. And we're focusing in on these 4 areas: the circular bioeconomy systems, climate change fueled invasive species challenges, public health benefits, and cross-boundary strategies. Today, you're getting a sneak peek before the post goes out. We're going to be posting about from the ground up and the efforts where we have moved forward. We have all the individuals on the board. That's the farmer leadership team that's going to be seeing us through for the next phases. And then tomorrow we're going to be posting about Volo Foundation and our recent grant that we received, which will go back into the Circular Bioeconomy Systems Project down in Florida with the Florida Climate Smart Ag Working Group and the University of Florida.
and then do we
So
have one on Brad Doyle too, or is that for next week?
that is for next week. So a sneak peek for next week. We're gonna do a piece. We have Labor Day coming up. We have Brad Doyle's recent induction into the board with a press release attached. And then there was one more. Let me scroll over here.
I think it's my Hall of Fame. I think it's my Hall of Fame award on the Thursday and Friday.
We do need to get that going.
Congratulations, Lois.
Yes.
I am going to put thank you, Lois.
And I think, and then another thing, having attended many COPs, not going to COP 29, it's almost like there should be posts from everyone during the COP meeting, just little short paragraphs. I met the Minister of Agriculture from Azerbaijan, whatever it is. And just if it's only a paragraph or two about what someone saw that day, it's
Yep.
plenty to really fill up content.
Yes, and a great way to just say, I'm here on behalf of at Solutions from the Land. And just, it's just as quick, like you said, and simple. I think that'd be wonderful, anybody that's attending. We also had in the hopper our FAO side event for not this week, but a future coming week. So I've got Lois's Hall of Fame. If I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if you guys happen to have anything else for the following weeks, definitely let us know.
And I think this is the first time we've been together since Iowa. And we talked about inviting Brad Doyle to join, and he's accepted. So I don't think we've shared that with you. So that just has come together in the last week or so. So we'll be announcing it next week.
Great. That's wonderful. Great addition.
Go ahead, Melinda.
So I happened to get on Jason Clay's Twitter feed, or X feed, sorry. And he has content every day or every other day, very short comments about what's happening in food, agriculture, deforestation, etc. And, you know, we could mirror that, I think, not perfectly, but there are a lot of opportunities to talk about what's happening in ag and how that's impacting on sustainability. For example, wildfires. The situation in Canada, I don't know how close we're linked to the old Canada group who did climate smart agriculture, but what's happening in Canada is going to happen other places too. And you know, Jason sits here in DC, but he posts a lot about Brazil. So if you're working overseas, like Howard, and there are things to post that could connect back into our international work, that would be good.
I love that idea. And I don't know, Ernie, let me know what you're thinking on this. Maybe this could be something where, as you guys are reading the news, if you see anything that could be relevant to our audience, sending that via email to us too, so that it's on our radar. It may already be on our radar, but just to make extra sure. And we could create posts, but tying it into why this matters or how SFL may even be helping, or thoughts.
You know, one way to discipline ourselves to remember to do this, maybe actually every 1 day a week, Friday, you could just send a quick note to the board. Hey, folks, Ernie and I are meeting Monday. Anybody got any hot topic? And you may think of it then. It may just pop in your head. But if we don't ask you, you may, with everybody's lives as busy as they are, you may have a wonderful activity that have happened, but just didn't have the moment to time to send it to us. So would that make sense, Ashley?
Oh yeah, I think so. If you guys don't mind a Friday email, I think that'd be great. That way it doesn't fall off a radar.
And
Yeah.
on September 24, maybe you already know about this, Ernie, there's a big USDA Ag Innovation meeting in New York. And I probably can track some of that because it's same for climate meeting.
Aim for, I mean, I did not see that, but that's a great day because Fred Yoder is going to be in New York City on September 24th, speaking at a Conservation International side event. So Fred's
that week, there are like 100 food events in New York.
Yeah.
I don't know all of them, but there's one with USDA I think is important.
Yeah, that would be great.
That's USDA, UAE work on innovation.
That's a great heads up.
Yeah, I wrote it down on my notes.
Well, folks, I see we're at an hour. Any other questions for Ashley?
This was very useful, Ashley. Thank you for giving us the beginning of it.
Good. As you guys get into it, if you have any other questions, let Ernie and I know. While I'm thinking of it, let me slip my email address in the chat box so those that I've not met yet, you all have it.
Well, great. And for non-social media discussion time, I don't know if there are any other topics that you have in your mind that you want to cover today. We set this aside just to do social media, but boy, we got a ton of stuff going on. And if you want to stay on for a few minutes, I'd be happy to give you kind of a flash update. But your time may already be allocated for other activities. So does anybody want to stay on for a few more minutes to have an update on some of our activities, or would you prefer to schedule another meeting down the road?
I have to sign off, Ernie, at this time. I have another call.
Okay. Why don't we do that rather than holding you?
Is,
It's been an hour. I'll
okay.
get with AG, Fred, and Howard, and we'll put an agenda together. But we have so many irons in the fire right now. It's amazing what the collective we are doing. So thank you for your contributions, your leadership, your time, your energy. All this is what makes SFL special.
All right. Good to see everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey,